Welcome back to New Player Career Build Series. This is episode number 8. And so in this episode, we're just going to go into the boat and we're going to update it for post-pressurization update. October 12th, 2023, the pressurization major update came out. And so now we have to ventilate our tanks. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just make that quick change to the boat. We'll test it out, make sure everything's running. Right, so ventilating tanks is something you have to do in real life. They have tank vents on aircraft. They have tank vents on your car. For example, you see it all the time at the pumps. People will fill the car with gasoline. The pump will automatically stop. It's designed to do that. It's supposed to leave space for the fuel vent. People will then top off. That's why there's even signs at gas stations, do not top off. And then they'll fill their fuel vent with fuel. So this is something that is realistic. You get air in the tanks. It makes perfect sense. If you have a bunch of air in a tank and you fill it up with liquid, it's going to compress that air. As it compresses that air is going to try to push back on the fuel. Also, if you try to take fuel out of a tank, you're eventually going to be pulling a vacuum, which is going to cause resistance, and it's going to make it so that the fuel does not get to your engine. This happens IRL, and it's very important to do. So what we're going to do is set this up. So we already have some air vents here. If we look, we have air intakes on the top here, and that is for our engine. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tap right into that system. And so outside, we have 1 atmosphere of pressure. Inside of our tanks, we want 1 atmosphere of pressure. So if we look at our tank here, there's a couple ways we can do this. One, we could ventilate into this volume here. So one thing we could do is we could take a gas relief valve, and we could hook it right here, and we could put a fluid port on the end of it. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll show you before and after. So this is what we're looking at here. So that's it. Gas relief, fluid port, that allows gas to equalize. So this tank is going to start with more pressure than inside the ship here. This would equalize it. So what we'll do here first is I'm going to go ahead and we will just spawn it and we'll look at the tank pressure. So let's go ahead. We'll just no clip right into the boat here and we'll check the tank pressure. So coming in, we have the fluid tank. Let's go ahead and look at it. As you can see, we have 20 atmospheres of pressure in there. So we're pressurized to 20 atmospheres. Okay. So next thing we'll do is let's go back in and let's actually add a barometer. So a barometer measures pressure, the barometric pressure to be precise. Let's see if I don't think it needs electricity. Okay, good. So let's go spawn that in. Let's go back in. So let's see what the barometric pressure is inside of the hull. So it should likely be around 1. All right, so let's check it. As you can see, 1 atmosphere. In here is 20 atmospheres. So we need to think about what's going to happen logically. While things are not exactly the way they are in real life in Stormworks, things are intuitive and they're pretty close. So we expect that basic physics, areas of high pressure want to go to areas of low pressure. So that's delta P, change in pressure. So the tank has 20 atmospheres of pressure. This room we're in has 1 atmosphere of pressure. So what that's going to allow us to do is exchange from high pressure in the tank to low pressure outside. So this is one way we could ventilate our tank here. So let's go ahead and we'll add a gas relief valve. And we'll add a fluid port. And this is going to allow the gas out. Gases are fluids. All right, liquids and gases are fluids. All right, so let's go ahead into the hull here. And so what we expect to happen is the higher pressure gas is going to escape. And there it is. As you can see, it's pushing 14 liters per second out. We would guess that this is going to go down. As you can see, the pressure is going down. It's coming into the room. If the pressure is leaving this tank and coming into the room, we would guess that this room is going to increase in pressure. And as you can see, the room is increasing in pressure. So we are currently pressurizing this room. So that is one thing you could do. There's enough space in this room you could do that. But what I think is better to do is this. So let's go ahead and we'll cut this off. And instead, we will exchange gases with the atmosphere. All right. So what we can do here is let's go ahead and we'll add a T-piece on either side here. And we'll add a U. And we'll come up, add another U-bend there, and then we're going to add a T-piece here. All right, and so what we want to do, though, is we don't want to let fuel in here. We want to just let in gases. So we need to put it right here. That will let the fuel through. So we're going to put a gas relief valve right here. All right, and we'll follow the pathing. So this is going to allow both gases and fuel to come through this line and down here. Next thing, the fuel is going to be able to go into the fuel manifold for the engine. The gases will be able to go through this gas relief valve. Only the gases. So the fuel will be able to come through the pipe to here, and then only the gases will be able to come up, and it can do one of two things. One, it can feed directly into the engine, and two, it could go out these stacks here, which are our air intakes. All right, so let's spawn this. What do we expect to happen? The fuel tank starts at 20 atmospheres. Now we expect the gas to come out of that tank, up through here, and come out of these filters. So let's go and spawn it. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll check it. So let's look at the filters first. And look, they're pushing out 11 liters per second of air. And we come down here to the tank. And look, our tank is losing pressure. Right, so the next thing we need to do is we would need to change the way the cooling is working anyway because of the pressurization major update, but I just noticed I also made a mistake is when I moved the engine parts, the pump is now disconnected. So this is how we used to do cooling a lot of the times. We would take in fresh cold water from the ocean, we'd send it through the engine, and when we send it back out, the hot water would go back into the ocean. That was very effective for cooling. The problem is if you went over 100 degrees, you would scale, you'd put salt in your engine. Cooling system, you wouldn't want that. And also when I made some adjustments to this motor, I accidentally disconnected this pump. So let's go ahead and we're actually going to upgrade the cooling system. Somebody was having an issue where their boat was dying after 10 minutes. This would be why. So we're going to cut out the cooling system and we're going to fix it up. So the method I like to use now are heat sinks. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab some heat sinks. You'll often see these in boats IRL, and what they're doing is pumping hot water from the engine through this heatsink. It goes down in these fins, and the fins are sitting in the water. And because the fins are sitting in the water, you have nice cold water. That hot water from the engine goes down into these fins, and then the cold water in the ocean cools it. So we're just going to grab those, we'll cut those, and we'll push them up. All right, good. We'll go ahead and we will merge those. All right, I'm just going to back it up here, and we'll see the mass difference. So if we go to right here, let's go ahead and we look, we're 2506. Now let's go forward until the heat sinks are in, and let's see where we're at mass-wise. So we're at 2279. So 2406 was where we wanted to be. If you notice, let's go ahead and back it up, and we'll look at the center of gravity here. So if you look there, the center of gravity is right there, just below the line. So we want to kind of get that back to where it was. So let's go ahead and we'll go forward there. We didn't lose that much mass. All right, and so we'll go ahead and we'll merge these up so they're part of the body. And then what I'll do is I'll cut a space right here, and we'll just add a little bit of weight blocks to get that mass back up close to where it was. So there, we're a little bit lighter than we were, but we should be pretty good there. So now we have 2 heat sinks in the hull. All right, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to plumb these in. So let me cut right here. All right, good. So now we can plumb these up to give us cooling. Now, a couple ways to do this. You could use a belt-driven pump. What I've been using recently that I've really been liking is I've been using an impeller pump. I think that works well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we will hook that in. So just going to go ahead and we'll cut right here. We'll grab pipe. We'll grab this angle corner piece here. Go ahead and we'll start looping this forward. So this is going to be our impeller pump that will pump the water for us. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll extend that pipe out, and then we're going to grab an impeller pump. All right, you want to put this on here. You want to make sure the yellow side is attached to the end of the pipe. So we're going to rotate it twice like that, and as you can see, that will show blue on this side. This is going to be fluid in, and that will mean the other side is fluid out. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut some of these blocks, and this way we can move the piping here. So go ahead and we'll add a pipe to like this, and we'll move one forward like so. All right, and next thing we want to do here is we're going to hook into this side of the heatsink. If you look at these are not directional, so they have fluid B, fluid A, it doesn't matter which side. This one has fluid in. So this is going to suck the fluid in and then push it back out. All right, and so what we want to do here is we're going to go ahead and we'll grab a manifold piece. Now you can extend these coolant manifolds as long as you want with manifold pieces. All right, so we're going to hook the manifold piece up like so. We're going to grab a straight manifold piece. So that was an elbow. This is a straight one. All right, next thing we want is a coolant manifold right here, coolant manifold. This again is omnidirectional. It's A or B. As you can see, it's not in or out, so you can go either direction. All right, then we're going to go ahead and we will put a pipe. You could do electric pumps if you want, but I find impellers to work really well. All right, and then, so now what it's going to do is this creates a loop. So if we look on this side of the impeller pump, you'll notice we have a RPS connection. That's power. So that's going to come from our drive shaft here. It's going to go through the impeller. It's going to spin it up. The water is then going to go through the impeller pump. It's going to come down here. It's going to go through and cool the engine, and then it's going to go down in the heat sink. All right, so that is all set up. Let's just verify both sides are identical. All right, good. So this boat was going for about around 10 minutes. It would overheat. So it has automatic overheat protection that shuts the boat down in the event that it gets too hot. So now that is solved. All right, so that fixed two issues from the pressurization major update 1. We now have ventilated tanks that allows the air out of the tanks, which will allow us to refill the boat by putting fuel in, pushing the air out. It will also make it so that we're not drawing a vacuum, and that will eventually shut the boat down because the fuel cannot be pumped against the vacuum, and so we end up in a situation where we can't get fuel to our engine. Also fixed the cooling issue that was caused by the pressurization update made the flow rates from fluid ports too slow, and so because of that, doing raw water cooling is no longer effective. So put a couple heat sinks in there. That is keeping the engine nice and cool now. So I hope you guys found that helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.